what had actually happened and report on that. And that was fair. That was absolutely splendid, because that's what you do in an investigation. You look at the evidence and try to work out what it means.
Taylor is uniquely qualified to identify evidence of a bomb. He's investigated more than 20 air disasters, including the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland. In 1988, Libyan terrorists planted a bomb in the cargo hold of Flight 103. When it exploded, it destroyed the plane, killing 270 people. Engineer Göran Lilja of Sweden is also on Taylor's team.
He told me that it was a controversial air accident that had happened in the past, and that there was suspicions about the military involvement and a cover-up.
Taylor is immediately concerned by how little wreckage has been recovered from Flight 870.
Is this all the wreckage you've got?
We're surprised that anybody came to any conclusion at all on the evidence we have, other than that it was almost certainly an explosion of some sort, somewhere.
Well, the first thing we've got to do is find the rest of this plane.
Taylor's first job is to convince the government to fund a new search.
Yes, could you put me through, please?
It could cost millions, and there's no guarantee it will solve the case.
No, we absolutely have to have more of the plane.
The basic conclusion from what we inherited was that we needed to recover more wreckage, and we said so very clearly.
There's no way to make any conclusions without more of the wreckage. Yeah. Okay, thanks very much. Thank you, bye.
If anyone can find the wreckage, it could be Taylor. During the Lockerbie investigation, he helped create a software program to locate widely scattered debris.
You have two effects: how far a piece will travel in the direction that the aircraft was originally traveling, and how far it'll be blown downwind by whatever winds there are. But the computer can do this very easily.
Taylor convinces the Italian government that his program can find more wreckage.
Okay. Altitude around 24,000.
They approve his request for a new salvage operation.
Wind is westerly, about 100 knots.
But the pressure's on to deliver.
Now that's where we should be looking.
The strategy works. The effort soon recovers another 40% of the plane.
Eventually we found it. It was there, more or less within a few meters virtually of where we'd predicted.
The location of the wreckage on the sea floor tells Taylor which pieces came off the plane first. Investigators now have a theory about how the plane came down.
See those first pieces? The explosion was at the back of the plane, not the front. Then it hit nose first, like this.
The reconstruction seems to match his theory. The wreckage at the front is in much smaller pieces than the rest of the plane.
If an aircraft comes down very steeply at a very high rate of descent, if it hits the surface of the water, it's very, very nearly as disastrous to the structure as it would be if it were hit the granite side of a mountain.
The theory also explains how debris from the front of the plane could have ended up towards the back, or embedded in the body of a passenger, and why the cargo door had holes that bent inwards.
As the fuselage sides crumpled, some of the windows would shatter, the rivets and so forth from the outer skin would be fired inwards, outwards, in all directions. And that explained why there were all these fragments embedded in seat cushions and bodies found in the very early stages.
But not all of the evidence supports Taylor's theory that there was an explosion near the back of the plane. He has no explanation for an obvious hole near the front of the fuselage.
I don't get it. We need more evidence.
You can't just take a piece of information of there's some pieces missing from the front and just say, oh, that must mean this. No, it doesn't. Nothing is that obvious.
Investigators dig up the radar for another look.
Okay, now, there's our flight 870.
They want to see for themselves if there's any evidence of a fighter jet in the vicinity of the plane.
Yeah, okay. Now, eliminate the ones we think are just noise.
They discover there are many unidentified returns, not just the 3 previously identified as a fighter jet. Random or stray radar plots are not uncommon.
There are many, many other unexplained returns in the area, but it so happened probably that these were the only ones that sort of linked together to make people think that they were another aircraft.
Taylor concludes that what McAdoo thought was another aircraft is actually debris falling from Flight 870 as it breaks apart.
Well, I'll tell you what plane this is. It's our plane, and this is a piece of debris.
The investigation has reached an impasse. Radar evidence of another jet has been discounted, but there's still no proof of a bomb on board. Then Frank Taylor notices something odd near the back of the plane. There are a number of small, crumpled pieces of debris mixed in with areas that are nearly untouched.
Something's not right.
For Frank Taylor, it's a sign the debris has been placed in the wrong location.
Basically, it just looked wrong. The progression of damage from intense crumpling, very small pieces, to very large pieces, and then back to small pieces just did not make any sense at all.
One piece of wreckage stands out.
Those numbers. I've seen them somewhere else.
I came across quite a large piece of skin which had got penciled numbers written on the inside close to the stringers. Those are the horizontal stiffening pieces along the fuselage. I had never seen that piece before, but I remembered somewhere seeing another piece with penciled numbers on. Couldn't remember exactly where. I had a rough idea, so I just went looking.
Gotcha! Can you remove that piece for me, please?
And eventually I found it in the forward fuselage, and the numbers ran consecutively from the piece in the forward fuselage to the piece on the rear.
Okay. A little bit further down, a little bit further down, a little bit further. That's it. That's where you belong. Lovely. Could you wire those in?
And that was the first bit, and that gave us then total confidence that, yeah, okay, this is going to work.
Once all the debris is checked and moved to the correct position, evidence of a missile hit on the front of the aircraft is gone.
We could quite clearly see that there'd been no explosion of a missile outside in the areas that previous commissions, going right back to the early stages, had predicted.
We had brought up most of the skin of the airplane, so a pattern of missile debris would have been seen somewhere at least, but there was no sign of that at all.
The reassembled fuselage reveals a new hole at the back of the plane. It appears to have been caused by a bomb.
Have a look what we've got. Yes, well, we know what that is.
Investigators study more wreckage from that part of the plane.
What have we got here? Ha! Well, look at you.
The steel wash basin has been bent upwards by an explosion. Just what investigators would expect to see if a bomb exploded in the rear lavatory.
Yeah.
The more we discovered, the more they all pointed back to an explosion in the rear toilet area.
Taylor and his team finally have enough evidence to say what brought down Itavia Flight 870.
I think it was a bomb.
There was no eureka moment. From there, it was just a gradual process of finding more evidence and no contradictory evidence.
There's just one more test they need to do to be sure.
Okay, well, let's blow it up and see what happens. Okay, let's do it.
Investigators place explosives inside a DC-9 lavatory to test their theory that a bomb brought down Flight 870.
3, 2, 1.
If the shattered pieces match Flight 870's debris,
Okay, let's go see how we did.
it will provide strong evidence that they're right. The explosion creates distinctive damage. It's nearly identical to what was seen in the debris from the lavatory of Flight 870.
Okay, measure that one, will you? Yep.
We were absolutely sure, yes, no doubt.
The evidence can't reveal who planted the bomb, but investigators now have a good idea where it was placed. The bomb was probably small enough to hide inside the tissue holder or behind the wash basin.
You can put something in there, you can reach around behind that and get closer to the aircraft skin.
Based on the physical evidence, the aircraft's last radar return, and the location of debris, investigators now have a clear picture of Flight 870's final moments.
Itavia 870.
Call back for descent.
Thank you for everything. We will call you for descent 870.
What?
There's an explosion close to the pylon of the right-hand engine, which caused the right engine to come off.
In less than 10 seconds, the plane breaks apart and plunges into the sea. In 1994, after 4 years of work, Frank Taylor's team files its report. For the first time since the disaster, investigators claim to have indisputable evidence that a bomb blew up Flight 870.
Frank Taylor's team didn't reach any conclusions except ones which were based on hard physical evidence. There was no theorizing going on.
Taylor's report is the last word on the technical investigation of the Itavia tragedy. But in Italy, his findings are overshadowed by an ongoing judicial inquiry that has been consumed with the missile theory since the beginning.
In Italy, really, the judiciary just seemed to be able to ride roughshod over whatever's happening.
Well, we were told that, in effect, that our report was useless.
The judiciary in Italy just found Frank Taylor's findings inconvenient. I don't think they ordered it not to be published. They just made a decision that they wouldn't publish it.
Most Italians still believe in the missile theory, despite scientific evidence to the contrary.
The public opinion was much more intrigued by the possibility that there was a cover-up, military or political cover-up.
In 2013, at a hearing to assign financial liability for the accident, the Italian Supreme Court rules that a missile of unknown origin shot down Flight 870 and orders the government to pay 100 million euros to the victims' families. The ruling is a relief to the families, but leaves some wondering if important evidence was ignored.
I'm sorry, but Italy is a dreadful place to have an aviation accident. And if you want the truth, you're less likely to find it there than just about anywhere else in the world.
For air accident investigator Frank Taylor, the evidence speaks for itself.
We discovered quite clearly that somebody had planted a bomb there, but nobody on the legal side, it would appear, believed us, and therefore, so far as we're aware, there has been no proper search for who did it, why they did it, or anything else. As an engineer and an investigator, I cannot see why anybody would want to consider anything other than the truth.
Experts searching for clues to the fatal demise of Crossair Flight 498 retrieve alarming evidence from the captain's flight bag in air crash investigation after the break.